Alrighty, your Tuesday planner says science page E42, and then we've got workbook to do after. So 42. Alright, levers and pulleys. Now you know what these are, you just didn't realize they had a name. So a lever is going to be anything with like a stick. So my pencil is a lever. This highlighter that I forgot to put the cap on is a lever. A rake, a shovel, and look at this. This girl is kayaking, canoeing. She's got an oar. How many machines have you used today? Probably many more than you think. Some are quite simple, while others can be pretty complicated. Machines make our lives much easier. And the words in scientific terms are complex, compound, or simple machines. And in fact, those are our vocab words. Machine, simple machine, lever, wheel and axle. Well, that's on your bicycle or on every vehicle. And then a pulley. And a pulley is a system that raises a flag. You're pulling a rope around a wheel. Alright, in scientific terms we learn that work is anything that is in motion or that is being moved. So how can we make that easier? You need to move something. Often you move things with your hands, but sometimes you might need to use a machine. Well, what is a machine? A machine is a tool that makes work easier to do. Remember, work is done when a force changes the motion of an object. How do machines make it easier for forces to move objects? Well, check this picture out here. This is a pulley system. This is a lever. And this is also a wheel and axle. Can be also considered a pulley. Sometimes they have multiple names. So a machine can change the direction of the force you need to do work. So if I'm standing pulling here, it changes the direction of the weight so I can get it where I want it to go. Some machines change both the direction and the amount of force. So if I have this triangle here, it's going to allow me to use less effort to move that green box. A machine can change the amount of force you need to do work. Well, this is going to pull the rope instead of me going, ugh, and trying to pull it up myself. A simple machine is often used to make work easier. Machines with few or no moving parts are called simple machines. A lever is an example of a simple machine. A lever, like my pen, is a straight bar that moves on a fixed point. Now, wherever I hold it is my fixed point. All levers have three important parts: the load, the fulcrum, and the force. A lever makes moving a load easier in two ways. It lets you change the direction of a force. It may change the amount of force needed to move something. Check out the girl in 45 here. She presses down on one end of the wood piece, which is the force, and because it has a balance in the middle called the fulcrum, the rock will lift up. Now, I'm hoping she's wanting to flip it over, or somebody else is going to be here to help her, because otherwise she's just going to keep lifting it up and down and up and down. But by using her homemade lever, she is making lifting this rock easier. And the load is the rock, the force is her pushing, and the fulcrum is the point where this whole thing turns and causes movement. So that is a simple machine. Different kinds of levers. Well, I told you that my pen was a lever and the highlighter was a lever. So was a saw, a shovel, a rake. What about a pair of pliers, a baseball bat, and even a wheelbarrow? Now this one's a little more complex, but it contains still a lever. All the levers in the world fall into three types. Each type is set up differently. The force, fulcrum, and load can change places. How the force, fulcrum, and load are arranged tells you what type of lever it is. So in the pliers, we have the force here in the red area, the fulcrum in the center, and the load would be whatever the pliers are trying to pull out. In a baseball bat, ka-ching! So the force is where you are the force is the movement of the bat, so away from your body. The fulcrum is where the bat twists at your wrist, and the load is the baseball. Strike. And then in a wheelbarrow, the load is between the force, which would be here, where you're pushing, and the fulcrum is the wheel, and the load would be inside the basket there. Alright, this is where I love to talk about Snow White. In the very beginning of Snow White, which is the very first Disney film, full-length feature film in color, she is at a well, a wishing well, singing. I will make sure to put the video at the bottom of this one that you can watch. And she's standing there turning the handle and bringing up water. Okay, so this is a windlass. Usually we just call it a well. But the well is actually this part down here in the earth. The windlass is the part that brings the water up. This is all part of a wheel and axle. This simple machine has a wheel that turns on a post. The post is called the axle. Your bicycle has this, every car, every side-by-side, every tricycle, stroller, they all have a wheel and axle. A manual pencil sharpener is a wheel and axle. So is a door handle. The wheel is this part and the axle is this part. This kind of machine makes work easier. It changes the strength of a turning force. The wheel turns a long distance while the axle turns a short distance. A windlass, like Snow White uses, is used to raise water from a well. A bucket is tied to a rope, and the other end of the rope is tied to the axle and the handle. And when you turn the handle in a large circle, the axle turns in a small circle, and the bucket will move up or down. Alright, the pedals on your bike are a lever, and then you have a wheel and axle system to move the wheels. When the wheel makes a circle, it will go a longer distance. This wheel makes a shorter distance than this one because they are quite different in size. This one's a pulley. Mr. Steve and Mr. Haas put up our flag every morning. You clip the flag to the designated areas on the rope, and then you pull down, and this side goes up. So the rope is one big circle, and you're essentially just shifting the placement of the rope. A pulley is another kind of lever. It uses a wheel and a rope to lift a load. There are different kinds. The diagram helps you compare two kinds. You pull down to lift your load up. So you have a one wheel, so this would be like a flagpole, and then a two wheel. This is going to be for a heavier load. Alrighty, your planner also says that you have a workbook page to accomplish, so let's do that. I got several of yours back last week and they were in print. You are still doing your work in cursive, please. A machine is a tool that makes blank easier to do. Our book says work. A machine can change the amount of the force as well as the direction. Those are the same question. They have two different answers. Some machines can change both the direction and the amount of force needed to do work. Machines that have few or no moving parts are called simple machines. Simple dimple. A straight bar that moves on a fixed point is a lever. Your scissors are two levers put together at a fulcrum. All levers have three important parts: the load, the fulcrum, and the force. So on a pair of scissors, you pull them apart, push them together. That's your force. Pull and push. A lever lets you blank the direction of a force change. A lever lets you change the blank of force needed to move something amount. Makes it easier. You don't have to work so hard with the screwdriver. The force is the push or pull that blank the lever moves. Right here. The object being lifted or moved by a lever is called the load. Remember the girl with the rock here. The point where a lever turns is the fulcrum. That's the most important part. If you don't have a fulcrum, you don't have a lever. And if your fulcrum were this big, then you're going to have even less force to use to move the load. So if she exchanged the size of her fulcrum, she could move an even bigger rock. Turn my page because my title changed. Are there different kinds of levers? Yes. The force, blank, and load of a lever can change places. Fulcrum. The load is between the blank and the fulcrum on a wheelbarrow. I got to read my chart again. The load is between the force and the fulcrum, so force. Some other simple machines. A wheel and axle is a simple machine with a wheel that turns on a post. A wheel and axle makes work easier by changing the, I think it's strength, so you don't have to work so stinking hard, of a turning force. A blank is used to raise water from a well. Windlass. I'm wishing. Okay. Title change, paper change. What goes down just to go right back up? A lever that uses a wheel and a rope to lift a load is a pulley. Some pulleys make work easier by reducing the amount of force needed to lift a load. Okay, so if you need some more time, of course you can pause or rewind the video. I know I write awfully fast. If you have any questions about this assignment, let me know. Be looking for simple machines. If you have a swing set, it is full of machines. If your dad has a shop, it is full of machines. Even your TV remote is a machine.